All right, so today we're going to be talking about creating desperate characters. What does it mean to be desperate? There may be moments in our past that we feel desperate, like we need something, that we put something on a pedestal, whether it's like our dream or whether it's a significant other, that someone that we desire. It's like when you really want something, you'll go after it, but when you become really desperate, then you'll feel like you need it. Like it's almost like someone that needs drugs or they need alcohol. It's like that you really need someone. It doesn't matter if it's that one person. For every moment, like for every new person you meet, it's always like, if it doesn't work out with somebody else, then the next one is like, I need you and you'll make me happy, and you're the only one that can make me happy because I don't feel good. And I just don't think I could be happy in this life without you, and I'll do anything possible to make you happy, and I'll do all these things. You just make all these promises. So it's like over promising, and then all of a sudden you just can't deliver. That you're just not a good fit for that person, they're not a good fit for you. But conflict brings out resolution, because with conflict is that sometimes you don't even know why you're doing it. Because there are moments in your life that maybe your self-value, your self-worth is down in the gutter, and that you start to just do all these things, and you could go review it. You could go review what you wrote, what you text, if you sent a direct message. You could go back to past situations, like where you're just thinking like, why did I do all these things? And you don't want to admit it at the time, that you could have been obsessed or infatuated, or that you could have been desperate. Because people don't want to be known as being desperate. Like when somebody was like, stop being desperate, what they're telling you is like why are you like doing all this stuff like that? Almost like you're selling out your own self-respect to go after someone that treats you like dirt. They don't even respect you. They have no compassion for you. So why are you dropping to your knees to do something for someone that doesn't want you, that they have no interest in you? Maybe they were using you. They just didn't respect you, because you know what it's like when someone cares about you, because you probably had moments in your past that you had a good relationship when it started, and maybe things didn't work out, it flamed out, or both parties wanted to go in different directions, whether it's their career or the flame was burning out. But when you meet someone that maybe there's some sparks, and then the other person starts to overpraise the person, and then that person maybe is depressed, or they're not feeling well, or they just don't feel, they self-pity. So then you can't give a bunch of compliments and make somebody seem so great, like you put them on this pedestal, if they don't even believe it themselves. And they don't believe it because they might be depressed, or they're say in a bad marriage, or the relationship is dissolving, and they don't feel good about themselves because the relationship is like where they put all their value and saying, this is like who I am, I'm with this person, and they want to hang on to that person, and so people could see them and like, oh, look at me, like I have value, I feel good and all that. So when that thing falls apart, that they attached like all their value, all their worth to another person, because they never found like, say, happiness for themselves from within. To be happy, not because I need to live my dream, or I need this job, I need all this money, I need to be famous, I need to be popular, I need people to pay attention to me and see everything I do. Not for that type of value. It's for the value that you wake up each morning and you feel good about who you are. That even though that you may not, say, look like a certain person or another celebrity, is because sometimes the media makes things out to be like, you need to look at this person, or you need to have this type of body, or be this height, or have this type of job. Like when I say media, it's people that run these gossip blogs online, or even the media itself, like like anything that happens online. It could even be on YouTube, when they have like some of the MSM, mainstream media has like YouTube channels. So it's like the people that prop up all these like celebrities and these famous people, or these athletes, to make them like like where they put them on pedestals and they follow them each day and they just do so much for them, more than for their own self. Like people don't do self-care, and they don't listen to their family or their friends, and people try to give them advice, and then they just go pouring their heart into the next big opportunity, whether it's their dream or another person they desire. And in my opinion, that people do so much because they within, like, their motivation is that they want this person, and they feel that person is like their dream, or that they can make them happy. And maybe they had a bad relationship, or things didn't work out in a previous relationship and they weren't able to heal, and they feel that they could go and rebound with someone else and leave off where things were, say, once good in the previous relationship, and they think that they could reclaim that with a new person. So then they might try to start chasing really hard, like daily text messaging, daily messages. And it's not like natural. Like, it's not like if there's like a good friendship or someone that, like, you have compassion for and that you care about, like, and they're saying like this person's really great and they're reliable. It's not that. It's like they see someone based on looks, then they're just chasing hard because they want to be the first to get there. They think that if they shower them with attention and do all these things and never say no, it's always like yes, 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 like a robot. Like all these people that you see like in social media that are just like, giving all this praise to people. And sometimes people have certain platforms, like one might be like self-pitying themselves and saying that I have this, I hate my body and I hate the way I look today and I'm negative and stuff. But you have to remember that, behind this mask, I'm vulnerable, and like, just like all of you guys. So then they attract certain type of people. Confident people attract confident people, and people that self-pity seem to attract people that self-pity. Like, there's an audience for that. So if you have an audience, let's say if you're into writing, and then you're going to be attracting people that want to tell stories. If you're a filmmaker, you're going to attract people that want to make movies. And if you're an actor, you're going to attract other actors and actresses that do the same thing. So, but if you're in the, if you're trying to create this image, whether you're being authentic or you're being fake, then sometimes people don't see it because they're just so drawn. Like, they think that if they get this certain person, they're always gonna be happy, that life is gonna be perfect, it's gonna be this fairy tale, and that everything is gonna solve everything. But then they don't really work on what they need to do in their own life. That they can't stay busy because all they're doing is focusing on that one person. Like daily, every single day, every single moment, all they're doing is thinking about that person. They get excited when they communicate with that person or interact, and it's almost like this fantasy, like they see in the movies, like these romantic comedies, and it's just like they're just doing too much, and they don't understand like balance, and that if they send a message, that the person's not going to respond in 2 minutes. I mean, you don't want the person to respond in 2 minutes, because it creates like this dopamine rush in people, like where if they get a message, like it makes them feel good, like the ding or the vibration. Oh no, the person responded and they're thinking of me, and like, oh, they like me and all that. And it's almost like that they're psyching themselves out to make it appear that that person feels the same way about them as they do for them. Like, so when people become desperate, that they do things. So say like for the film that I was writing, the thriller with my co-writer, and then we did a proof of concept on, is that the character's desperate. The guy's desperate. Things have happened to him. He has a lot of bills. He's he got divorced. A lot of things are not really working out in his life, and he's a driver. And then he meets a woman because he's desperate, but he's not like desperate to the point where he'll do anything. But at the same time, he's vulnerable, and he could be insecure. There's some things that, because when somebody doesn't want you, so say if you poured your heart into someone, you had like a regular relationship. It's like you weren't desperate for that relationship. Like you just you met the person somewhere and you dated, and then eventually, you were in a long-term relationship, or you got married. Maybe you have your fights, your conflict, and then you have your good moments. And a lot of people sometimes like to talk about the conflict because they need to gossip to somebody else, like, oh yeah, they're not treating me good, or this is going on, or I think they're maybe cheating, and all these things. Because sometimes people like to talk about the stuff to make it look like that, all these things are happening to me, and then maybe the person was like, oh, I feel bad for you and all that, and you deserve better and all that. And sometimes people fish for those that self-pity or the compliments. Sometimes they might say, oh, I don't look as good, and I'm not like a dream, maybe to you, but maybe to others I'm probably average or below average. What they're trying to do is fish for those compliments to say, like, oh, you can never be average, like you don't even see yourself, you're so amazing and you're so awesome and all that. So people have motivation, what they're thinking in their mind. So if they want someone and they're desperate for it, and they feel like that they can't be happy without that person, like where they can't even be happy with their pets, with their job, with just their daily life. Like they wake up just feeling down, but then they feel that person that they're putting on the pedestal, and they're lifting up and propping up like their everything in their life. And they might not even know that person, and they don't know everything about that person. They don't even give themselves a chance to even learn about that person, because they're just basing it off of looks, or they think that person's everything. And once they get to know that person, they start to see who they really are. Then they start to realize, why do I want this? Because maybe they're questioning themselves at that moment, because they're exposing themselves to a person that they think is their dream, the person that is everything to them and that they want to be with the rest of their life. And then they realize that person is not that person, that they snap out of the fantasy, and they start to realize, hey, I have some value. I'm not gonna let this person do these things to me, like manipulate me or use me or talk down on me, or just disrespect me. They start to go through these moments with this person, and they start to recognize that this is how someone treats someone when they care about them, when they have interest, and this is how someone treat someone when they don't care about them. They have no compassion for them, and they really don't care. They could step on that person and kick dirt on them, and it doesn't bother them, because when somebody doesn't care about somebody, then they neglect them and they don't treat them good. So say if you worked hard and you bought yourself a car, then you want to make sure you keep it clean. You want to wash it, and you want to do all these things. Like, you love your car because you worked hard. You love your home because you worked hard for your home. But if you're one of those people that someone bought you your car, or you inherited your home, and maybe you don't care about it as much because you don't know what it's like to work really hard because you didn't work for it, then you may, because I'm not saying that all people do this, but some people may not even take care of it. They might just dent the car up and drive it all, racing it and not respecting it because they didn't buy it and they don't know how hard it is to work for something. But if you are say if you had interest in someone and you become desperate, and that person knows that you're desperate and that you you're focused on them, and they know that you're infatuated with them, and then if they're a good person, then they're gonna tell that person, you know what, you're nice and all that, but I just want to be single, or all that. Even if they have to say I want to be single, or it's I'm not looking for anything, because they're being honest about the way, because they don't want to hurt that other person, that they could stop it right away within a week or two. They could say, I know what's going on and all that, and is this not the right time? I'm not looking for anything, and maybe I just want to be your friend and all that. So that's cool. But if a person knows that you're doing all these things, and then they like the attention, and they're kind of using you to feel better because they're feeling down, they need someone to pay attention to them or to help them, then they're not being a good person, and they're being immoral by taking advantage of you, knowing that you could do these things, whether you're giving them money or you're helping with something, you have a talent or skill, or you're just doing all these things, you're giving a lot of attention, you're making them feel better. I say like a person that's not so good is they keep allowing that to go on, like knowing that they're acting like, you know, like maybe you have a chance or you have a shot, and they know what you want because you reveal it. And then in the future, when they don't need you anymore and they're like, it's not a good fit for me, they're just thinking about themselves. They're not thinking if it's a good fit for you. They're thinking if it's a good fit for me. So say if I'm that person saying, well, it's not a good fit for me, like it wasn't a good fit for me, then, you know, what was behind, you know, the door is not a good fit for me. So they're just thinking about what they need. Like their happiness is all that matters. Like they're not happy. If they're happy, they're not happy. It's like all their feelings or emotions. It's only about what they need. They don't care if they hurt you by, you know, ignoring you or doing things to, you know, to question why you care about them. And if you help them, then they're going to view that as like, well, I can't, you know, give you any hope or don't expect anything and all that. But if you're like friends with somebody and you have a good relationship, like where you're able to talk about things, but maybe one, like, I mean, both could like each other, or both could just be friends, or one could like the other, or the other could like the other. Like sometimes like if it's not even, like there's not mutual interest. But when people are like, say, harboring their feelings and both sides are doing it, then there could sometimes be conflict because both sides are not reacting to their feelings. They're not like, neither side is making moves, and there's this like, they don't want to share that for some reason, where because it could be rejection or fear, or they feel like they're doing something wrong because maybe they're not out of a relationship. So there's so many factors. And the reason why I talk about all this, because it's like all over the place with someone that is desperate, is because when someone's desperate, they don't have a lot of confidence, and they their self-esteem is really low. Like they have to build themselves up just to talk to someone. So say if you're in a bar, at a store, somewhere, you see someone that you like, if you're confident and you believe like, hey, you know, like I like this person, then you might go talk to them, say, hey, you know, by the way, I'm so-and-so, and introduce yourself, and you do that, and then it would lead to you talking about things, and then maybe you get their number, like the old times. It's better to know, because then that person might say, oh, I'm married, or you might not even ask. You might walk up and say, are you married, or are you in a relationship? You just talk to them because you like what you see and they seem cool, and talk to them, and then maybe you connect, and then you go out, and then one thing leads to another. But nowadays people need to get a number because they want to text, because they don't want to call on the phone, like you know, like we used to do back in the day, of like that you had to get the courage to call on the phone when they pick up. The reason why there's so much awkwardness and people get nervous is because they don't want to say the wrong thing to turn off the other person. So they believe that if they're on the phone, they're put on the spot. If they ask something, you could hear in people's voice, like whether if they ask them something, you can know if they're being truthful or not. But if you're sending a text, and people send a text and they're like, oh no, like, did I say the wrong thing? Or I'm worried about this text. And then when they're showing all this like neediness or desperation, like where they just need to contact that person can be doing something else. They're busy. And this happens in all areas, like friendships. It could happen in relationships. It could happen with family, co-workers. That when people are texting and stuff, the other person's busy. You know, they could be doing something, or they just want to be on their phone. Like, who wants to sit there and text paragraph after paragraph and just texting all day long? Like, people got things going. Like they have work to do. They might want to work out. They can't be like texting somebody when that other person's like, why didn't you respond? Like, I saw that you read the message. It said read. Why didn't you react? Why didn't you say something? You know, like, and they start to question them. Then people already know what they're getting into. They know that other person is like becoming needy or desperate. There's something going on, because when people start questioning, like, I didn't like that I sent you a message earlier and it took you the whole, you know, half a day to respond or something. and you may not even barely talk to that person yet. You haven't even got to know them, and they're already saying that. Then you're already picking up on it, that they're just. It's almost like you just know. You can pick up on when somebody is desperate or they're on a rebound. Rebound is like they feel like they need to get with someone, and they're going on a rebound, so they start over pursuing, and they start to over promise. They start to say all these things they could do because maybe something didn't work out in their past, and then they start to feel like they have a chance to redo it, and then they might start doing too much. And then if that person knows that they really want them, then say like in these like thriller movies, then they start to take advantage of them for bigger things, because maybe they're in a relationship and it's not working out and they want that other person to do something. So that's like our story, like in the movie that we were writing, and it's still working. We're still working on it. It's a work in progress. That we made the proof of concept is that the guy's desperate. He meets the woman and she knows he's desperate. Maybe she doesn't really value who she is, and guys treated her a certain way, so then she sees him as a escape from a situation or an opportunity, and then she takes advantage. But when people take advantage, they sometimes could catch feelings, even though that they never really plan to see a future with that person. Then they start to imagine it. So it takes time, because sometimes people can prove themselves, because there's always a lot of people making promises and saying like, I love you, I could do anything for you, please, and they're acting desperate. And a lot of people do that on social media, but there's only a very small sample size that would actually, give the time and care and show up and support that person and believe in them and actually do things that will show them like, I truly care about you. I do. And then you'll see some people that become more confident as they have more exposure to that person, and then they maybe they fall down to earth. So maybe they're up in the clouds, and then they fall down to earth, and they're more realistic, and they start to feel more comfortable with that other person. But sometimes when somebody wants something and the other person doesn't truly know everything that they want, then they start getting frustrated, because maybe they need to be rescued or they need help, and the other person can't help in the way that they need. And then sometimes they feel like they put their own life on hold, and then they didn't see anything out of the situation. They're like, it's like they're not like totally being open about what they really want. So then you got two people. One person might be revealing everything that they want. They're being desperate at first, and then the other person may be possible that they could want that same thing, but they're not revealing it because they're not really desperate to. They may be desperate to be happy, or to get more money, or to get out of a situation, but they're not desperate to enter something, because they know they have a lot of things they need to take care of, and maybe they're not ready, or they're afraid because they can't move past a certain relationship. So they're not ready, but then the other person could be ready, but they're not confident in themselves enough to be independent. Independent would say you could go to the movies by yourself, you could go shopping, you could do things by yourself, and you don't always need to be around someone where you need to be with that person to feel good about yourself. That you could go out and go hiking by yourself, and if somebody says, I don't want to go hiking, then you still go hiking. You don't stop what you're doing. You don't cancel your plans because somebody canceled on you or they didn't show up, or they're a no-show. That if you go on a date and the person don't show up, that your world's not going to crash down, because there's many other matches. And I guarantee you that there's so many other opportunities, and there's not just one. When people start to think that this is the only person I could be with, and it has to happen, and they start to fear that they're not going to get that person, and then they become desperate, and that's why they do so many things. They start to do too much. But when that person starts growing and they start having more exposure to what they think is everything to them, then they start to feel that more confident. They have better self-esteem. Then they're going to know how people should treat them versus how people shouldn't treat them. They're going to be able to compare that, because they're going to say, okay, somebody that respects you is not gonna, like if you try to give them advice or help them, then they're not gonna like step on you and say all these things like, I didn't ask you, and don't tell me, and stop judging me, and like look at your life and all that. So then you'll know when that person does not respect you, that if they don't respect you, they have no compassion for you, and that it's easy for them to move past you, then you never really mattered to them. That you were just something along the way that they just needed someone along the way to help them through something. And because when people really respect you and they valued the things that you did for them because you cared about them, then they're going to appreciate that, and they'll remember it. They'll never forget it. So no matter what happened in, say, a previous friendship or relationship, or even your family, that people are always going to remember. It's like that helping hand. Like I know the person that was always there for me, that showed up for me, helped me through this tough time, and that now my life is better, and I'm not going to forget them. And I may even mention them. I may share that, there was this person, even if you don't want to name them, there was this person that cared about me, that they were there for me when, during the darkest moments, that they were the light for me, and they showed up and they helped me to deal with this problem. Maybe they weren't able to solve it, because the thing is that we're not problem solvers. We're not supposed to be solving people's problems, because when we try to help them and things don't go right, then they're going to blame us, and they're going to like not take personal responsibility for the things they do. They're going to just say it's your fault because you try to help somebody. You try to help somebody with a problem, and you couldn't solve it. Is because they didn't want it to be solved, because they don't share everything. They don't reveal everything because they don't want people to judge them, because there's things that they do and they don't want people to know everything. There's always two sides to the story, and sometimes people just want to share this side that makes them look better and makes the other person look worse, but they don't share why the other side is reacting to something without, because if somebody's going to get mad and say certain things, it's because the other side sparked them. And whether that other side did something that was good or bad, that there has to be a reason that why somebody reacted, whether it's something that they're dealing with and they're deflecting or projecting, or somebody just actually said something to them or treated them a certain way, or they're just dealing with unresolved issues. So there's like so many reasons. So I always think it's important to be honest, and to say that there's times like, that you act a certain way in your life because you're dealing with something. You had, maybe it's not you had a bad relationship, but that relationship ended, and that, it hurt you, and that you're still healing, and you feel that you could, that when you feel like you're ready to move forward, and you meet someone that you think that could be the world for you, like to make your future better or give you hope, maybe that person's not in a situation to where maybe they don't feel the same way as you at the time, but as time goes on, then that person could grow feelings for you and see that you could be potentially a good match for them. But when somebody's not really reciprocating, like it's one-sided, like there's a reason why they're doing that. And then, because if somebody has attention or give you attention or has interest in you, then they're gonna share time with you, and you're gonna be able to, like, it's gonna feel like a flowing stream. Like it's gonna feel good, because it's not nothing's gonna feel forced, and you're just gonna like click. It's gonna be like this happiness, and you feel excited, and it's not gonna be like that you said something, or they're like, oh no, why did I say that, or why don't they want to go out with me? Or, I mean, if somebody is interested in you, things will happen. You will go out. Don't answer your texts. If they see that there's someone that is interested in them and they feel good about themselves, or they're ready, there's just something that clicks when somebody is interested. Like they want to share their time. they respect you, they have compassion. But when somebody is like, say, depressed or they feel down, it doesn't automatically suggest that they're gonna treat you bad. It's just that sometimes some people that don't really care about other people, and when they're depressed, then it's more obvious that they're gonna sometimes put you down or say certain things, or just be mean to you, and they'll say certain things like, like if you ask them to go out and they're like, I don't want to see you even on this day or something, like on your birthday or something, like I don't want to see you, not even on your birthday or something like that, then it's obvious that they're trying to kick you when you're down. They're trying to tell you, like, I don't care, like, I don't want to see you, and even if it's on the most important day of the year, I don't want to see you, like I have no interest. They could be rude like that, or someone could just ignore you, or play silent treatment, and do it when they know that it hurts you, because they know in their heart what they're doing is hurting you, because they know that maybe they're vulnerable and they know how it feels to do that, to not pay attention to somebody, to hurt somebody, because that hurts more. When somebody does silent treatment, it hurts more than sometimes doing physical things. So when people do domestic violence or something, another way is emotional manipulation. Is, I'm going to ignore this person, I'm not going to pay attention to them, and they're going to hurt that person because they know that person cares about them, has feelings for them, loves them. Then they're going to ignore that person because they know that if they do that, they can manipulate that person to not doing certain things that they don't want. They can control the situation by ignoring that person, because they're able to do it, because sometimes they could be numb in their heart, or maybe at the time they're just not feeling good about life, feeling good about the relationship, or there's certain things, like they know what they're doing. When people have motivation, then they know what they're doing. So when you create these characters, of these desperate characters, think about what makes somebody desperate. So you have to have a source for that desperation, saying like, okay, they had a bad relationship. You don't have to reveal all that right away, but you could show like why. Maybe they could reveal it in the story. Sometimes you could show certain things that happen, but then you don't show it all. You show part of it, and then as time progresses in the story, then you show a little bit more, and then you show a little bit more, and then maybe you show all of it, like the pain. When somebody lose somebody, like in an accident, maybe you could show them driving, and then we come back to it again, and now they're, talking, and then we go, and then towards the end, then we actually see what happens. Like M. Night Shyamalan, the one that does he made The Sixth Sense, or Signs, and certain movies. That sometimes he's more spiritual. He might do that. He might create a story of like, this thing happened, this event happened, the wife was killed, and then maybe he lost his faith. The protagonist lost his faith, and then this big event happened, and then he slowly will regain his faith. But at the end, you see why he lost his faith. You can see what happened to the wife. But we don't reveal it all at once. Like we give it time so we can kind of grow with these characters, to have connection with them, to humanize characters, and to care about them as if they're our family. And then we start to see what is the source of their pain. Whether, with animals, sometimes they hear certain noises and they get scared and something happens. We don't know like their history, because if they're like a rescue pet, or we got them at SPCA, or we adopted them, we don't know their past because they can't tell us, but they could show us by the way they react to some certain thing. They could be shaking. They could get like, when people get PTSD, animals could get that too. So then they are telling you there's something wrong with me, but I can't share it with you. So say if a pet hears a noise and it's something that like makes them, like sets them off, like where they're shaking, trembling, and then that noise is connecting them to something, or if they see something that scares them, because they can't just tell you, like verbally tell you what's going on, but you could see the reaction. So people act desperate for reasons that sometimes they don't want to share what happened in a past relationship, how they were treated, but there's certain triggers, like maybe they didn't get something that they like something they wanted, like the other person didn't believe in them or put them down, or they knew that they weren't getting treated the way that they felt like they deserved, but then they didn't feel like they deserved things. So sometimes they could feel like that they should get treated better because they deserve it, but then sometimes they don't feel like they deserve something. So it's kind of like this catch-22. It's like, I deserve to be treated better, but you know what? Like, but I don't deserve things. Like, I don't have anything, or I don't deserve this. But then you can make a demand of like, I deserve to get treated better. But sometimes if you're down, then you could say like, well, I don't think I deserve this, or I don't do the, like where you're kind of beating yourself up. It's like that self-pity, or trying to get people to feel sorry for you. So if you do that stuff, you have to snap out of it. Like, don't self-pity, or don't feel sorry for yourself, or try to get that attention, because nobody wants that type of attention. Like, I'm sick, like everybody just know, and then you get everybody's like, oh, I'm sorry, I hope you get better and all that. Or look at this, like, pray for this person and do this and that. It's like, sometimes people are private about what's going on in their home. And when people are like, oh, I need your help, everyone, like people don't even know and stuff, then sometimes it could be like in a way of getting attention for the feeling sorry or the self-pity. So, I mean, I've probably done it in the past, like where I just had this procedure and I'm working and all that, and people are like, well, I can't believe this happened. Or sometimes there's a time in your life maybe you feel that you don't feel totally good about your life. It's not like that you regret your life, but you just don't feel good about life at that moment because things haven't worked out and things are not going in the right direction, and they've been like a struggle for many years. Things are not working out, but you're trying hard and you're working hard and you're trying your best, and things are just not working out. So sometimes you might want to impress people by telling them, oh, you do this or you do that. Like instead of naturally having a conversation, you might introduce something. So then they could probably like be impressed with you, or like congratulate you, or feel sorry for you if you say something. So these characters are real people, even though that they don't exist in this world. That they're real people because you're creating them in your mind, and that eventually people are going to be acting out these stories, and they're going to bring your story to life, and that they could be a cautionary tale showing people this is how people feel in these situations, like why they're desperate or why people do these things to them. There could be a source to everything, like why does somebody treat somebody that way, and why another person sticks around when they're treated poorly until they realize that I don't want to get treated like this anymore, because maybe they allow a person to treat them terribly, and as time goes on they start to get more confident, and then they realize that I don't get treated like this, because then they know if a person cares about them, loves them, sees a future with them, then they're not going to treat them that way. Because then they know, it's like they snap out of their fantasy, they pop out of the bubble, they come down to reality, and they know this person is not a good fit for me, and maybe I'm not a good fit for them, and that they're and then we have to part ways because it's just not going to work out. But sometimes you don't forget people, and you always remember them, but they forget you. Then you realize you never mattered to them, because then they're already giving you the answer. Then it's good. It's a blessing in disguise that you didn't get into a relationship with that person, or remain friends with them, or even get to know them better, because they never really cared about you. They wanted something. They made certain promises, like, oh, I'll support you, I'll be there, I feel like I need to be there, and they'll say all these like great things. Like, I mean, I've had experiences with it, like where they just start saying all these like things that you want to hear, like, I'll support you and I'll believe in your dream, and I want to like be around to help you, and I love what you're doing and all that. They'll say all these like great things, or like we're going to decide on this and we're going to go in this direction. They try to make it look like they're going to be a part of your life, and they're trying to like fill in this support gap that you didn't have, and they do all these things, and then all of a sudden they disappear and you never hear from them again, and then they just totally like, and that's like last time you see them. Or somebody that just needs a lot of things. But if you are able to grow and get stronger, and people have like taken advantage of you or used you, then you're going to recognize when people don't really care about you, and then you're able to cut it off like that. You can snap your finger and it's over. You can have like a couple of calls with them. Maybe you go out with them and talk to them on the phone, and then you could already pick up on what type of person they are, the way they talk down about people, or they act like they're very condescending, or they think so highly of themselves, or they're full of themselves. They don't respect your time. Like, say if you have to go to work, but then you want to help them with something, and then they're just like wasting your time because they're doing things that they could be doing on their own time, with your time, and then you could be on a call for 3, 4 hours with them, and then they're not respecting the fact that you needed to work and you wanted to help them out, and then you just say, okay, that's it, and then you just part ways. Like, you don't even tell them like, hey, it's not gonna work. You just cut the cord because you already know how people treated you in the past, and that you're able to recognize it, and you know when somebody respects you, that they have interest in you. Because if you start talking about certain things, they don't want to hear it. Like, oh yeah, you're going to start talking about certain things, and I'm tired and all that. After they used your time for 3 hours at a time, they need you to help them with something, and then all of a sudden, like when you want a few minutes, they don't give it to you. They're like, oh yeah, I'm going to go, I'm tired, after they used your time and took advantage of you. Then you know what? You just move on. Like, you don't have to tell them, hey, it's not going to work out. Like, you don't even have to tell them anything. You just cut the cord and move on. Like, confident people do that. But when somebody's desperate, then they're getting treated a certain way, then they continue to return because they're self-sabotaging, or they can be self-destructive. It's because they don't feel totally confident in who they are, or they don't have the self-worth at that moment. Or maybe they could always be dealing with those problems. Maybe they always have low confidence most of their life, and they're not able to grow or to do things naturally because they fear everything. Like, they fear every moment, every opportunity. Like, oh no, like what if I don't get it? Like, they'd rather be stuck in a fantasy to think that maybe it's possible. Like, the anticipation of the opportunity is more valuable to them than the actual opportunity to see whether it's possible or not possible. It's better to know than to never know. Like, because if you're just imagining like that you want to go, have a relationship, and then you just never ask and you never share your feelings, or you're never honest about it, things. Life is too short, and you have to just do it. If you have a dream, then you go after it and you keep doing it, but don't ruin your whole entire life because you need this dream. Like, you have to really sit down with it and see, is this really what I want? Is this good for my future? Like, do I love this? Do I have passion for it? And then, because if you start to complain about your dream and you start saying like, why did I do this? And why did I waste my time? And like, why is it not working? And you just start having all these negative emotions towards it, then it's not your dream. You just want it for reasons that are not consistent with your passion. Because if you have interest in something, no matter how hard it is, you're going to spend time doing it. You're not going to you're going to get frustrated sometimes, but you're not going to complain about it. That's just like a person. Like, you with somebody, you're like, why would I even, go out with you on the first date? Like, you're not, like, I have no interest in you. You don't even look the way that, of like, like what I want and all these things. And if you say these things because you want to hurt somebody, then you don't really care about that person. It's just that we know when someone has interest in us, that they care about us and they have compassion for people, then they're going to talk to us nicely and they're not going to give us a difficult time. But when people don't care about you and say things don't work out, they'll never look behind ever again. They might say, hey, I hope you're doing good. Things didn't work out between us, but I'd just like to thank you, for what you did, or thank you for being there for me. That's somebody that has compassion for humans. But when they're just thinking about themselves, and they just want things for themselves, then everything's going to be about them. Then they want that attention. Then they're not going to care about you. They'll never return back to say, hey, things didn't work out. They'll just forget about you. They'll never look in your direction ever again because you never mattered to them. So that's why desperate people, like when you create characters, a desperate person will enter a situation, all these bad things will happen, all this conflict, and then they'll learn from their situation, and then they'll resolve the things that were holding them back in their life. They'll go back and say, okay, I went through this stuff and it was crazy, and it's because I take personal responsibility that I went through it, and I realized that I did these things, and I allowed somebody to treat me this way, and then they resolve it. So say if they met a woman or a guy and then they got into a bad situation, they did something for that person, and then there's this fallout, and then in the end, you know, their life is crashing down, and then they're able to like overcome it. They're not going to go back out there and repeat that same thing. It's like, that's why it's a cautionary tale of like a desperate, like in our script, a desperate man meets a woman and becomes a murder suspect because he may have not killed the person, but he got involved because he was desperate for a woman, and she knew that he was desperate and took advantage of him. So you could create, you know, these stories of like what does a desperate person look like? They need to text all day long. They need messages, and they can't take interest in certain things or have activities or hobbies because they're so focused on certain things. It's almost like this OCD for that particular one, whether it's a relationship or a friendship or their dream. Like sometimes it's okay to be obsessed with your dream. You could say that, like, I'm obsessed with my dream, or I'm obsessed with this show and all that, but those are just expressions. But if you're actually obsessed with a person or you're infatuated, then there's a difference between those feelings or desperation than if you really actually say, you know what, like, I care about this person, and they actually do make me happy. And it's not that I need them to be happy. They make me happy, and I want to share my happiness with them. It's not that like they're the only person in the world that can make me happy, and I will never be happy in life if I don't get this person, and it has to happen, or this life is a waste. If you start thinking like that, then there's some deeper things that you need to resolve. And that's if you're writing those type of characters, then you have to figure out why they do things that they do and why they feel a certain way, because there's always a reason, and you can show that person heal over time. So definitely think about your characters and build them in the way of like that's consistent with their problems. Like if they're desperate, or if you're saying that they're obsessed, then why are they obsessed? Think about it. Why are they obsessed, or why are they desperate? And you could show that. They don't have to say it in dialogue. You could just show it. The way that people treat them, and the way that they're always like trying to get attention, or they need to impress people. They need validation. Like show that. Show it in the film, or show people, have people talking about them, or something to reveal those things. And you could kind of give answers on like the setup or the backstory of that character. So I hope that your writing is doing good, and that you're spending time, you know, reading scripts or reading novels, writing books. Even if you have to read some of this, you know, like the DSM book on mental disorders, you're gonna grow your script if you put the work in. You talk to people, you take notes, and you just spend time with your dream, and just do it. Like, just believe in yourself. It's not like I could tell you believe in yourself. Believe in yourself, like for your own sake. Don't because somebody tells you to believe in yourself. You have to do it yourself. You have to rescue yourself. You have to, you know, get stronger yourself. If you start blaming other people, like, you're not doing these things, you're not helping me, and I need this problem, all you're doing is just giving me a tough time, then you're just like blaming other people, and you're not taking personal responsibility. You could go hide your past on how you used to be, and nobody will ever know, and some people will know the truth about you. But if they're like good people, then they're gonna like not really talk about it. They're not gonna like, you know, ruin your opportunities because they know that, because they cared about you. But if people don't care about people, then they're gonna hurt them in ways because they want revenge, or they just didn't really care about the person. So until the next time, Value yourself, respect yourself, love yourself. Peace out.